Are you ready for the August plant room update? Things have been growing, things have been going sideways, but let's dive into it and let's see, shall we? Hi there, my name is Memo, this is my channel, Houseplantygoodness, and essentially it's a place where I like to geek out about my big passion. You might be able to see some of it behind me, it's tropical houseplants. Another sweltering day here, which is good, it means we're having a bit of a summer, which is fantastic. But yes, I thought I'd give you the update for August and the conservatory, and things have been going well, and things have been going sideways, and things have been going interestingly. So I've got a few things that I want to update you on today and show you some really cool plants. First thing that I want to talk about is a little plant that I picked up the other day, and it's small and tiny, and you might be able to see it in front of me here. It's just a caladium. Obviously we're at the end of the season. I can't help myself with caladiums at this time of the year, and I know this is going to kind of die back for the winter soon. I mean, these two leaves are probably on the way out, and actually let's do the unavoidable, but you can still see it's a relatively full plant. And I mean, to be fair, for something like this, I think this was called Caladium something X, basically. But originally I wanted, this will take a few of you back a few years now, when Kaylee Ellen had first started her channel, she had a Caladium, I think it was a white queen, red queen, something like that, which was pretty much white with the middle bit being red in the middle. I tried to grow it back then from a bulb, it didn't work. It really struggled. I think I got that originally from Farmer Gracie, but I just could not grow that well. This one looks very similar to that, even though it might not be the same, but it's giving the same vibes, and however many years, we don't talk about the years, later, I was able to get one, even if it's small, and I'm okay with the fact that this is just going to survive for however long this survives now, and then at the end of the summer it'll kind of go dormant, and this will come back later. That's fine. But yeah, this brings me a lot of joy. So this sits right at the table down below where the camera is, which is roughly where I do most of my watering as well during the day. So it's really cool. The other little update that I wanted to show you is, and I know I talked about the fact that my skeleton key was suffering. I don't know if I want to say it's stabilized, but it doesn't seem to be getting much worse. There was a very long vining bit at the very top that was causing issues because it was getting caught on everything when I was trying to bring things down to water. So I took a few cuttings. That's a top cutting, that's a mid cutting. I mean, look at the skeleton keyness of it all. And that's another one. For some reason this one didn't grow that little middle tail bit, the key bit. But these and it's the first time, I know I'm not doing something that's rocket science, because people have been doing this for years, especially the growers. But this is the first time I can honestly say where I just took some Epipremnum cuttings. I don't think I even needed to put like rooting hormone, but I'm just like, I'm going to live on the dangerous side and just put some rooting hormone, shove them into an Anthurium soil mix and just watered it. Oh, there was a bit of water in that. But I just watered it, and the fact that I can tug these and they are very solidly in there means that they've already started rooting. This is a week. So really cool. I do think I've figured out what the problem was with the skeleton key originally. Ironically enough, I think I was letting it overly dry, and it just wasn't liking the fact that it was getting overly dry. It still needs to go towards dry, but I think I was letting it dry out too much because I was paranoid that I was going to have root rot. Sorry, you saw me kind of look away at that point. I mean, you know when you kind of spot a leaf at the edge of your eyes and you're just like, is that a pest? Is that thrips? Do I need to deal with that? No, is the answer, which is good. It's not thrips. It might be a mealybug. I do eventually need to deal with that, but yeah, so this is doing quite well. And I know it's not massively exciting, but for me, this is really cool. And I said this before, I do want to take some insurance cuttings. To be fair, a lot of the lower, kind of thinner vines of the skeleton key, I'm kind of pointing at it because it's kind of to the side of where the camera is, is doing okay, and the top growth is still doing okay. It's a shame that it lost some of its middle leaves, but the lower thin vines are growing up, and they should fill up the middle bit. So, but yeah, insurance. Always, 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 if you see a plant that's struggling, even minorly, and you really want to keep it and it's not something that you can easily replace, take insurance cuttings, root them out, because if everything goes sideways, then at least you got a backup. The other little update includes moss poles. So I'm very proud of myself for the amount of moss poles that I've done recently. But this is, and I'm trying to see if I can kind of get it so that it doesn't sit weirdly. Oh, just sit there. Good, fine. No. You know when you've got one bit and you wanted to attach to the moss pole and it's going to take out another bit. So hopefully that makes sense. But I want to see, I should probably, this is just a little vine, I should probably just cut it. Right, let me explain to you what I was looking at. So I'll tell you what this plant is in just a second, but there is that growth point which is doing really well, it's attached, and then I've got this other growth point which has got nothing growing there and there on those two nodes, but there is a leaf with a root there, and I was trying to get this to attach, but I'm just going to have a vine. So what I might do, take a pair of scissors and go snippety snip. Got rid of the little bit that was on its own, and then this should hopefully now do a bit better potentially, because I can just shove that in the moss so that it's a bit more in contact. Let me just do that behind the leaf so it's got some structure. I do need to tell you still what this plant is, but give me a sec and I will. Right, that should be better. So this is something I was given a while back from a very dear friend, and it is, if I'm not mistaken, it is Monstera obliqua Columbia, I think. And this is something that struggled for a long time. I just let it vine. I was trying it with semi-hydro. It wasn't doing very much. But at some point I moved it into soil. It started doing instantly better. I had it in soil originally, but I think my soil might have been too dense for how little roots it had. This had better root systems now, so I put it into the Anthurium mix by Soil Ninja, which at the moment I am swearing by. And I don't know if this has ever happened. You know when you get something like a tiny bit of bark or something that sticks out right where the growth point is, and all of a sudden it thinks it's attached to a moss pole, so it starts bringing out much bigger leaves. So the leaf size that I was getting before was probably about that big, and I started getting bigger leaves, and this will eventually get fenestrations as well. So I'm just like, well, I've been avoiding putting this on a moss pole for a long time, so I will put this on a moss pole, and it's doing so much better, and it's attached beautifully already. I can see a little root going into the moss right there, really, really well. But this is bringing me joy now, because this was a plant that I just had in the background and it was doing okay. The leaves are quite cool and a bit textured. There's nothing to write home about just yet, and I don't think this gets a lot of holes in its leaves, but it's doing okay. It's doing okay. I'm also looking, so this is what I mean, this time when I film is when I kind of really do a bit of an assessment of some of my plants. I should not be doing this. I should be focusing. I don't have ADHD, I promise. But yeah, it's a plant that is bringing me joy finally. And I don't know, has anybody else got that? Where you've got something that's just a bit like, meh, and then you do something differently, or it does something differently, and all of a sudden you're just like, ooh, I am paying attention. You have got my attention now. But yes, this is definitely one of those plants for me. And I do have the other one that vined a lot more, and let me show you what that looks like. In essence, it wasn't two plants. I think it was one cutting, and then I just ended up, like a tip maybe dropped off one of it, and I just kind of repotted it, and it kind of grew its own plant. So I did does anybody else do this? But they're just like, I've got way too much vine, and I could cut it and restart from it, but it's got an established root system, and I want to take advantage of whatever growth it's already got. So I just wound it around the moss pole and just made sure that the growth was a bit lower. It looks a bit janky right now, but ultimately what will happen with this is I'll do what Sydney Plant Guy does as well, and let it root into the moss, and then the moss pole, which in my case has got soil, and then chop it and extend it from there, and that should be fine. It just needs to serve a purpose for right now. But this one's doing quite well. I do love that little root that it's got there, which looks like it started to go into the moss and then just went, no, I'm going to go outside again. I'm like, bye-bye. But yeah, this is This is cool. This is also attaching, but yeah, loads and loads of leaves on this, loads and loads of vine on this. So I did try when I wrapped it around to get some of these aerial roots closer, and actually some of them have already attached. So this is happier than it ever has been before. I do have an exciting Anthurium seedling to show you now. So this was from my original batch of Anthurium propagations. So the people that got some of those seedlings, hopefully they're all doing well. I know some of you watch the channel still, so hopefully they're all doing well, and if you've got some interesting morphology with yours. But this, I mean, that is the biggest leaf of, there's 3 seedlings in here. But that one is got an interestingly long shape, and this is giving me pause, because I think what I did with this one, this was a cross-pollination between my unknown Anthurium, the hybrid, which was sold to me as a metallicum, which isn't a metallicum, still there, and it had a lot of length, with my crystallinum. And you could see some of the parentage on both of them. It doesn't have as much of the silveriness, but the longness is coming from that unknown Anthurium. And I think all of these might be from the same batch. Problem is, I didn't label things properly, so I haven't got a clue what some of these propagations are. But it's doing okay, and I can actually show you another propagation, which was the Vitarifolium's baby, which was a self-pollination for that one, which is this one right here. And interestingly with this one, I was trying for a long period of time to grow it in semi-hydro, and that is what the parent plant is currently growing in, and it's doing a lot better. It prefers to have a dry period, I find, or at least dry out partially, more so than any other Anthurium, because it's got very much like Phalaenopsis type roots. And it really didn't like life at all. And the moment that I put it into the Anthurium soil mix from Soil Ninja, it did wonderful things. I've got 1 new growth point, 2 new growth points. There are 2 growth points in here. There's 2 kind of propagation or plantlets, basically, seedlings. And it's rooting in quite nicely. I didn't think it was going to need that much water, but it seems to be doing a lot better. And these things are very small. For the people that have been around for a very long time on this channel, they know when I kind of like pollinated this and when I had the first batch and how small they still are. They have struggled the most. The really good thing, and it's mainly because I wasn't paying any attention to them. I don't need like 400 Anthuriums. But the really good thing was that to some people that I sent these out to, I think from their feedback, they've been growing quite nicely. So that is really, really, really good. But yeah, like the Vitarifolium babies doing quite cute. And they're so, so cute. So yes, very good. Also, another quick little update for you. This might not seem like an awful lot right now, but that was the cutting from, remember the Monstera adansonii, the yellow variegated one? Chopped it all back straight after that video that I was kind of mentioning it. I think it was I'll link the video at the top, but I think it was the one that I was talking about variegation in Monstera. This one has already grown a leaf, and it really hasn't been very long at all. I kind of kept, this was the original rootstock, so this was the original one. I don't know if there's going to be, I was going to say I don't think there's any variegation on this, but I keep forgetting this is Polaroid, so you can't see until it matures. But you might be able to see the candy striping that I meant now. Can you see it on that stem? Just how little green there is. It was never that variegated, but yeah, there's not an awful lot. There's 1 growth point that's activated, I can see another one, and another one at the top. So 3 growth points that I've activated, but it's doing okay. It's doing okay. This is under some grow lights at the moment, so good. It's interesting, I've got a lot of Monstera updates today for some bizarre reason, but I'm obviously in that frame of mind. But let me show you another cool plant that I picked up, and it was looking a bit scraggly because they were letting it vine. And I've put it on a moss pole, and it's already doing a lot better. Like, it's less than a week since I've got this, so let me show you. This is the Monstera laniata, I think. And it was 2 vines. There was 1 shorter vine here, 1 much, much longer vine. So the much longer vine I've put on, and it's already growing a new leaf at the top, which is great. And the other one's attached. It's all doing really, really well. And I always thought, like, back when these kind of really emerged, I'm just like, was this just another version of an adansonii? It might very well be. It might be its own species or hybrid. I'm not entirely sure. I haven't done that much research on these, but I do know that they grow in a similar manner to the adansonii Although, interestingly enough, I will say I think these are more reminiscent in terms of the leaf structure to Esqueleto, as in like they're thicker than the adansonii leaves by and large. I'm also looking for pests at the same time, because you know me, if I don't do it right now, it ain't gonna happen. But I think it's okay. I think it's okay. Thrips at the moment are everywhere, and can you see how blasé I am about that? I'm just, I keep treating, I keep vending more, I keep treating. It's not become obscenely bad, but generally I found with thrips that I can do everything in the world, and I might wipe them out in the middle of the growing season, but if I don't, by the time that winter comes around, they're done. They're done for. It gets too cold for them and they all die back. So they're alright, as long as it doesn't cause too much damage, it's fine. But yes, the Monstera lamiata. I'm also fully aware of what I just said about thrips probably panicked quite a few people. It's fine. I was there to... You get... Your feelings are valid. I'm just past that point now. I'm just like, well, it's another thing I have to deal with. It's fine. Yeah. And let's see a little plant that you probably have not seen on my channel for a long time. So I'll show you what it looks like. It's looking a bit... This is one of my feral plants, but if I turn it around, can you tell what it is? You might be able to. So this is the Philodendron subhastatum, and I mean, if you look at the red backs there, oh, so cool. Such an underrated plant. I do have a few things to say about the subhastatum, so let me unhinge my jaw. So it is a lovely plant. It is an underrated plant. It is also, at least in my experience, an exceptionally slow grower. Granted, I have never grown it on a moss pole. I have only ever grown it on a janky support sticks. It does have aerial roots for days. I think it would appreciate a moss pole. However, I think if I remember correctly when I was growing this, and you might be saying, oh, it's really, really juvenile leaves. You benefit from putting it on a moss pole. Yes. But I did get this quite large at some point without a moss pole. And what I found, and I think this is what most people are finding, is that the moment that it starts climbing and it starts getting bigger leaves, they're nothing to write home about. They're just kind of like regularly paddly leaves with a bit of a ruching and a bit of a ruffle. They lose the red backs. They just turn into a green leaf, and I'm just like, oh, I don't know if I like that. To be fair, this is the one thing that's really, really interesting about this philodendron, and it is really cool because it's some of the deepest reds I've ever seen on a philodendron back, is the red back. So when you lose that, I'm just like, it's just another green climbing philodendron, so with not particularly remarkable leaves. So I'm just a bit like, I don't know. I might do, you know, when you just kind of sit there and you're going, am I being cruel by not giving you a moss pole? Would you be living your best life? Regardless of whether or not I think you're going to end up looking boring, should I give you a moss pole? I don't know. I really shouldn't be doing all of this stuff. I'm about to go on holiday in like 2 or 3 weeks' time, and the lovely individual that's going to be helping me take care of the plant doesn't need more things to worry about or water. So I'm in that stage right now of what I'm doing with my care, which is I want to do all of these things, and if I wasn't going away in a couple of weeks, I would do them. But the problem is, by the time I come back, which is going to be mid-September, it might be too far past the growing season for it to do okay. Although, to be fair, I will say, like generally speaking in the UK, and the people from the UK, you might want to correct me if you think I'm wrong, but at least where I live in the UK, September is another relatively warmish month. Usually it doesn't start going cold, and I found this after living here for how many years? I've been in the UK since 2002. October, like Halloween, end of October is when it really starts getting more bitingly cold. Not bitingly cold, it's not freezing, but it's cold. Like, you know, you're in autumn. You're no longer in summer. But that September bit here, we tend to get a bit of, I think, what they call Indian summers. I don't know if that's culturally appropriate, but it's warmer as kind of Septembers. But yeah, very, very, very cool plant. The other thing that I will say in terms of growth, you might be able to see I had to remind myself of the name, but queremalense, the Anthurium queremalense, which I have finally got an almost perfect leaf, and it is hardened off now. So it's still a thin leaf, but it feels solid. Still got a couple of splits there. But this year where I was kind of like figured out its needs, so I've got it in semi-hydro for the people that are thinking about getting that, or even people that have struggled with it, because I know it's not the easiest of anthuriums. I find this is a very thirsty anthurium. It needs a reservoir, and the thing is I kept not giving it a reservoir for a very long period of time, and I think I probably mucked it up a bit too much. But it's got a new leaf coming on, so this has been the most explosive growth that it's had, but I've kept it wet, basically. Interestingly, however, and I don't know if I can pick it up, is it going to be... got too many things in front of it. My cutucuense is finally succumbing to the cutucuense, like, hating summer. And it is true, this is the one thing, and I think this was, again, the reason why... Actually, let me pick it up and let me show you. So, the Anthurium cutucuense, and has it got any mealybugs? Yes, of course it does, because it wouldn't be my collection if it didn't. So, you can see it's lost one leaf there and another leaf there, and some of its in-between leaves are just not doing too well. I think potentially it might have some rot in here because it needs to stay as wet as it is, but I think what it has grown in the moss pole is probably what's saving it at the moment. But this generally hates winter, which is why Enid struggles to grow it in her region of the world, which is why I thought I might be able to grow it here. But it still hates the summer even here when it gets really warm days. And I was thinking this was going downhill, but I can just about... I don't know if you can see there. Can you see a slightly lighter green patch there? I think there's a new leaf that's about to emerge. So my thinking with this now is if I can find where it's rooted in, I wonder whether or not I chop it, take it out of the moss pole, get it into some form of growing media and go from there. I wanted this in semi-hydro because I know that it needs a lot of moisture and a lot of humidity. How are people finding growing this in soil? I am debating taking this into soil, and actually I thought this was going to struggle, but to be fair, the leaves are very turgid. And you see what's happened here. There was one chicken foot of the leaf, there was one that didn't have any of the side bits, and this one did have the side bits, but I think maybe this dried out a bit too much, so it never grew particularly. I don't know. Also, that one leaf is, there's no moss pole behind it, so I do need to do something with this, but I don't know quite what just yet. So this is a bit of a struggle bus at the moment. Unsurprising. Shall we end on a high? I've got a very, very cool anthurium that's finally started growing. I'm kind of looking at it. I'm going to pick it up and show you. This newest leaf is insane. Let me show you the one I'm talking about. Whilst it drips down, so this is the Anthurium nigrolaminum gigi. And the leaf that I was talking about, just to give you some context, that's this newest leaf. I mean, and the one thing I will say, because this came up as a question from somebody on the channel on my Q&A video, and I will add it at the very top, is they were saying, I've got one of my plants that's growing an awful lot of roots, but it's doing nothing in terms of foliage. And I pretty much said in that video, you know what, let it do its thing and eventually it will kind of grow explosively. This was one that, for the people that have been here for a while, know that I was always complaining that it was just growing roots, maybe a couple of blooms, but it wasn't doing anything. But boy oh boy, when the roots settled and it started growing this year, that was the immediate previous leaf, which was still quite large. And I mean, let me just bring it down so we can do the like compulsory head test without me dropping it. I mean, very, very cool. I am so glad I got this into my collection now. And for the person who sent this over, you are by far the bestest. And I'm thinking I'm gonna wrap that there. I need to film 3 videos today because I'm trying to film in advance so I can do the 2 videos for this week and an extra video, and I'll be doing that for the next few weeks that I'm going to be here before I go on holiday. So I've got some content to post out to everybody. So heads up, the plan is, if I can, and this could go a number of different ways. If I can, the original intention is I will film the extra content and I will edit it and upload it in preparation before I go on my holiday, so you all can still get 2 videos a week whilst I'm away for 2 weeks. It might end up becoming that I don't have enough time. It's usually not the filming, it's the editing that takes a very long time. It might be that I kind of do 1 video a week for those 2 weeks that I'm away, or it might be that in the end work just gets too busy, and anybody that knows that nobody warns you about this. They need to warn you about this in school. Sorry, I'm going slightly off tangent here. The kind of, it doesn't matter what work you do when you know you're going on holiday, you end up working 3 times or 4 times as hard to prep everything for the X amount of time that you're going to be away, that by the time you go on holiday, you deserve that holiday even more than you did before you started the build up to it. Right? Nobody tells you about this. But yeah. So hopefully I'll have that bit of content is, and I will try to kind of be there and respond to comments. It might be for those 2 weeks when I'm away, you might not get as many comments from me, because by and large, and I never really talk about this, by and large, the majority, 99.9% of the comments that I get are really positive and really encouraging, and I've got a great community, but there is a very small percentage that can be a bit negative, and I don't engage with them. I try not to let them affect me, but sometimes they do, and I don't know whether or not I want to subject myself to that whilst I'm on holiday. That makes sense. But yeah, I shall let you be. Hopefully you've enjoyed. Hopefully I shall see you here soon, and I truly, truly hope that you have a great rest of your day. Thanks. Bye.